Tom class? That's good. Thank you, Prabhu. And for those who are listening, welcome as well. There's a very important chapter in the Bhagavatam that we're on, answers by citing the Lord's version, and in just a few more verses, we will actually hear the Chatur Shloka, the essence of which the whole Bhagavatam is centered around in four shlokas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, should first offer respectful obeisance under the personality of God in Narayan, under Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Srila Vyasadeva, the author, Srila Prabhupada, translator, commentator, and dearmost spiritual master. Certainly we would be completely lost without him. Nasta Parayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious to the heart is almost destroyed till nil. And thus loving transcendental service unto the personality of Godhead, Uttama Shloka, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So we're on chapter 9, Canto 2, chapter 9, text number 30. Yāvat, sakhā, sakhyur, iveśa, te, kṛtaḥ, prajā-visarge, vibhajāmi, bhoḥ, janam, aviklavas, te, parikarmaṇi, sthito, samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. Yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa te kṛtaḥ. Prajā-visarge bhajami bhojanam. Aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthito. Samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. Yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa te kṛtaḥ. prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhojanam. Aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthito. samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. Please chant. Yāvat sakhā sakhyur iveśa te kṛtaḥ. prajā-visarge vibhajāmi bhojanam. Aviklavas te parikarmaṇi sthito. Mame samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. Yāvat sakhyur iveśa kṛtaḥ. prajā-visarge vibhajāmi janam. Aviklavas parikarmaṇi sthito. Mame samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. prajā-visarge vibhajāmi janam. Aviklavas parikarmaṇi sthito. Mame samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. Yāvat sakhyur iveśa kṛtaḥ. prajā-visarge vibhajāmi janam. Aviklavas parikarmaṇi sthito. Mame samunnaddha-mado māninaḥ. Anyone else? Yāvat sakhyur iveśa kṛtaḥ. prajā-visarge vibhajāmi janam. Aviklavas parikarmaṇi sthito. Māninaḥ. Word for word, yāvat, as it is, sakhā, friend, sakhyur, unto the friend, iveśa, like that, iveśa, O Lord, te, you, kṛtaḥ, have accepted, prajā, the living entities, visarge, in the matter of creation, vibhajāmi, as I shall do it differently. Bhoḥ, O my Lord, janam, those who are born, aviklavas, without being perturbed, te, your, parikarmaṇi, in the matter of service, sthitaḥ, thus situated. Ma, may it never be. May, unto me. Samunnaddha, resulting arise. Madaḥ, madness. Ajā, O unborn one. Māninaḥ, thus being thought of. Translation. O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me, just as a friend does with a friend, as if equal in position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation, but I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Brahma is definitely situated in the humor of friendship with the Lord. Every living being is eternally related with the personality of Godhead in one of 5 different transcendental humors, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakhā, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. We have already discussed these 5 kinds of humors in relationship with the personality of Godhead. It is clearly exhibited herein that Lord Brahma is related to the personality of Godhead in the transcendental humor of friendship. A pure devotee may be related with the Lord in any one of the transcendental humors even in the humor of parenthood. But the devotee of the Lord is always a transcendental servitor. No one is equal to or greater than the Lord. That is the version of Bhagavad Gita. Brahmaji, although eternally related with the Lord in the transcendental humor of friendship, and although entrusted with the most exalted post of creating different grades of living entities, is still conscious of his position that he is neither the Supreme Lord nor supremely powerful. It is possible that some extremely powerful personality within or without the universe may sometimes show more power than the Lord himself. Still, the pure devotee knows that this power is a vibhuti, delegated by the Lord. And such a delegated, powerful living entity is never independent. Sri Hanumanji crossed the Indian Ocean by jumping over the sea, and Lord Ramachandra engaged himself in marching over the bridge. But this does not mean that Hanumanji was more powerful than the Lord. Sometimes the Lord gives extraordinary powers to his devotee. But the devotee knows always that the power belongs to the personality of Godhead, and that the devotee is only an instrument. The pure devotee is never puffed up like the non-devotee class of men who falsely think that they are God. It is astonishing to see how a person who is being kicked by the laws of the Lord's illusory energy at every step can falsely think of becoming one with the Lord. Such thinking is the last snare of the illusory energy offered to the conditioned soul. The first illusion is that he wants to become Lord of the material world by accumulating wealth and power, but when he is frustrated in his attempt, he wants to become one with the Lord. So both becoming the most powerful man in the material world and desiring to become one with the Lord are different illusory snares. And because the pure devotees of the Lord are surrendered souls, they are above the illusory snares of Maya. Because Lord Brahma is a pure devotee, even though the first dominating deity in the material world, and therefore able to do many wonderful things, he would never, like the non-devotee with a poor fund of knowledge, have the audacity to think of becoming one with the Lord. People with a poor fund of knowledge should take lessons from Brahma when they are puffed up with the false notion of becoming God. Factually, Lord Brahma does not create the living entities. In the beginning of creation, he is empowered to give different bodily shapes to the living entities according to their work during the last millennium. Brahmaji's duty is just to wake the living entities from their slumber and engage them in their proper duty. The different grades of living entities are not created by Brahmaji by his capricious whims, but he's entrusted with the task of giving the living entities different grades of body so that they can work accordingly. And still he is conscious that he is only an instrument, so that he may not think of himself as the supreme powerful Lord. Devotees of the Lord are engaged in the specific duty offered by the Lord. Devotees of the Lord are engaged in the specific duty offered by the Lord. And such duties are successfully carried out without hindrance because they are ordained by the Lord. The credit of success goes not to the doer, but to the Lord. But persons with a poor fund of knowledge take the credit of success into their own accounts and give nothing to the credit of the Lord. That is a symptom of the non-devotee class of men. So I'll read the verse again. Om Agyan Timanandasya Gnanjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Shaitana Manubhishtam Ishtavitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Shva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savirutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shivasha Kanvitam Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kantar Moshlite Tapti Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Rishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhibhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashri Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I was born in the darkest, deepest depths of ignorance, but by His causeless mercy, my eternal spiritual master, His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has forced and continues to force my eyes open with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, I offer my most humble obeisances unto His lotus feet. Verse again. O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me, just as a friend does with a friend, as if in equal position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation, but I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme. So this is a wonderful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, certainly one of those verses that one can study again and again, and is so instructive, because here's Lord Brahma, the secondary creator of this material world. Who can imagine his power? It's inconceivable. And he is very aware of this very strong tendency among every living being within this world to become puffed up by what's in one's endeavors and think that oneself is a control. Actually, nothing is done by us, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. The material energy has empowered our body with so many amazing functions by Krishna's arrangement. And we're not doing any of that, actually, which is inconceivable to us. So, as Prabhupada states here, in the conditioned state or the liberated state, we are completely, absolutely dependent on the Lord. And this rare opportunity in this human form of life, and in so much rare opportunity of being able to execute devotional service, we are so incredibly fortunate to get the opportunity to be a completely self-realized soul in this short lifetime, and get to the point where, even to the point where Krishna completely takes over all our bodily functions, and we're acting simply as His instrument. Bhagavad Gita states, Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani samoha sarge yanti parantapa, that all living beings are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Every living being. If Brahma himself was born into illusion, he had no idea. When he was born in the lotus flower, he had a strong desire to create, but he had no idea what to do. As the story goes, I mentioned also in the last class, because it's such an amazing story. Lord Brahma climbed down, he looked down, he saw the lotus stem, he climbed down the lotus stem. He's wandering through the Garbhodak ocean, pretty much aimlessly, until he hears a sound. Tapa, tapa. And because of his being the most intelligent living entity in the universe, he immediately understood what he had to do, went back to the lotus stem, climbed to the top, sat on the lotus flower, meditated for 1,000 years of the demigods. penance. It's been talking about penance in this chapter. Krishna explains how he is penance. Everything executed in this world is due to penance. Prabhupada explains that everything, even a person with material opulence, it's not, it doesn't happen by accident. That person, although it may seem effortless in this lifetime, that person executed so much trouble in a previous lifetime to get that vibhuti, as is stated. And it's really interesting because yesterday we were discussing with Vanamali, Bhagavad Gita's son, how Prabhupada says every living entity has some mystic power. Some mystic power that only that living entity can do. And it's inconceivable how they can do that. And scientists can, dissect and put forward their theories and everything and come to some conclusions. But they have no idea actually how it's being done. Prabhupada used to challenge the scientists. He said, you've done so many great things, so many wonderful things. Look at modern medical science and all the discoveries the scientists made. He says, but you're, a little puffed up. And therefore I challenge you. We will accept that you're approaching the intelligence of God and the ability of God. But you just create just an insignificant mosquito. Get a little mosquito buzzing around. Just create a mosquito. No. So everything, all our bodily processes that are going on, that we're completely unaware of. Just imagine the mystic power of the Lord through his material energy that is allowing all these things to happen. This is all Krishna. Over here to look at some notes here. Down. So on this theme of false pride, Srila Prabhupada mentions, talks about surrender in the Bhagavad Gita. And our process of developing our Krishna consciousness could be also said to be the evolution of the process of our surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And according to Srila Prabhupada in his purport to Bhagavad Gita 15:15, the beginning of the surrendering process is to become free from false pride. Here's the verse. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who unbewildered know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. Purport. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride. Because a conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the lord of material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not the Lord of material nature. Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from the delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. Then he goes on to say, for one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. That's 15:5. Yeah. So our I think it's logical to conclude that our advancement to Krishna consciousness is in direct proportion of our ability to be self-reflective. And false pride creates an illusion that's so strong. I'm just talking from my own personal experience, is that one could go on for many years, many decades, practicing Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna. And he may find out that his boat has never left the harbor. Just like Prabhu gives the example of the wedding party. They're all excited, big wedding, and they have to go a long ways, so they're going to travel at night. And they come on the boat, they're all excited, everyone's talking and things, and but it's pitch black, so they're talking, they're thinking, they're on their way, and they're traveling the whole night. They should be there by dawn. All of a sudden the dawn comes, they're so excited, they look out, they haven't left. Somebody forgot to pull up the anchor. Oh my gosh. So the anchor of our material desires and our material perceptions are deeply grounded in the muck of our false ego. And there's many, many layers, gross and subtle, of that muck to go through. What does Lord Chaitanya say in his essential 8 verses? He says, Tranadapi sinichena, Torodapi sishna, Māninaḥ, Manadena, Kirtaniya, Sadahari. Let's find the... Looks like that got deleted. Māninaḥ, Manadena, this false pride, this false identification, wanting something material back in exchange for our devotional service. It's this material world is very difficult to get out of. Prabhupada says, generally speaking, it takes a lot of trouble for a devotee to get out. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says that a devotee's path is strewn with thorns. But by constant practice and detachment, it is possible. But we have to be very ardent in our practice of Krishna consciousness, and we have to be willing to face these monsters of our false ego that force us many times to do things against our will and against our Krishna conscious deliberation. So therefore we need the association of devotees. We need especially the association of more advanced devotees. We need to always be checking in and seeing if we're on the right track. We should be serving when we see those qualities that devotees have that we're still working on. We should see Krishna in those qualities, and we should honor Krishna within that devotee. We have to be careful in our prosecution of Krishna consciousness. And as we associate with devotees, we're associating with devotees because we're associating with Krishna. And Krishna in that form is giving us so many realizations if we're self-reflective, if we're able to pick up the different nuances that Krishna is giving us. Our material expertise is not a qualification for spiritual advancement. This is a difficult thing, that we all go through. We have some abilities, and we still, speaking for myself, have the strong tendency to equate success and advancement with my own ability to do different things Therefore, many times Krishna puts us in very uncomfortable situations where we realize that it's actually not our strength by which we're doing things. All our ability to do things, these are all borrowed plumes from the Lord. And Lord puts even his most exalted devotees into such tests. Look at Arjuna, right? The most powerful warrior practically in the universe, the direct friend of Krishna. Krishna is driving his chariot. Arjuna is able to defeat the whole insurmountable Kaurava ocean of the Kaurava army. And then all of a sudden, after Krishna has left the planet, Arjuna is sent to protect Krishna's wives, and they're attacked by dacoits, and he can't remember the mantras for his weapons. He can't, he's practically helpless like that. Krishna puts all his devotees through so many different trials and tribulations. Look at Prabhupada's trials and tribulations that he went through. Any ordinary man would have completely folded. He wouldn't even come for the first, to begin with. What to speak of coming with no money, with no friends, on a boat for over a month, having 2 heart attacks on the way, coming into Boston Harbor. What would we have done? We would have checked into a hospital to begin with. No problem. He was so connected with Krishna and his purpose to save all of us. So with a great heritage comes great responsibility. And that means taking the process of Krishna consciousness very seriously and applying ourselves to the process and realizing that it's not going to always be an easy road. And when Krishna gives us some mercy and some relief, this is a test. And it's very easy to take things for granted. And that's why Queen Kunti prays, let the calamities happen again and again, because then we'll have your association again and again. Mm-hmm. Bhagavad Gita 18:26. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. Purport. A person in Krishna consciousness is always transcendental to the modes of nature. He has no expectations for the result of the work entrusted to him, because he is above false ego and pride. He has no expectations for the result of the work entrusted to him, because he is above false ego and pride. So this is really good, to have verses like this, and we can go and really kind of analyze what is pride, and do I have any pride? And I think, yeah, I probably have a lot of pride, because it says we're not even beginning this surrender process if we still have false pride, and I still have expectations for for the work. I'm still thinking I'm the enjoyer. I should, I've done the work. I deserve to enjoy it in a certain way. Still, without expectations for the results of his work, the devotee is always enthusiastic till the completion of such work. He does not worry about the distress undertaken. He is always enthusiastic. He does not care for success or failure. He is equal in both distress and happiness. Such a worker is situated in the mode of goodness. So this is a really important chapter also to study, because the modes of material nature are causing these different qualities. These different material qualities are born from different modes of material nature. And with the prosecution of Krishna consciousness, we gradually come more and more to the mode of goodness. But then we also, as Prabhupada says, being blessed by the mode of goodness, gradually can come up to the transcendental mode of goodness. And in that transcendental mode of goodness, then one can directly perceive Krishna's indication, Krishna's form in the form of our intelligence, in the form of so many different aspects of Krishna consciousness that we may be covered now and not be able to see. By the gradual process of devotional service, as we mentioned, we gradually become more and more humble, because we understand only by this process of dainya, of what is called, dainya means not just humility, but extreme humility. One realizes that we're so dependent on the Lord, and we're so fallen, that without His mercy, at every moment of the day, we will be completely lost. And that humility brings one to the point where one starts appreciating that all our brothers in all different forms of life, they're all struggling just like we are. And they also have the right to live. Recently there was a, it actually came up to the board that someone was taking care of the cats and building these very elaborate cat houses in the back, and to take care of them. And there was a little bit of I don't know exactly if controversy, but discussion on controversy, whether it was actually necessary to do that, and whether it was maybe causing some kind of a disturbance because of the nature of how it looks or something. So there was some discussion on this. And someone brought up this verse from the Bhagavatam, which is really instructive. And it says that one should treat animals such as deer, camels, asses, monkeys, mice, snakes, birds, and flies exactly like one's own son. How little difference there actually is between children and these innocent animals. Purport. One who is in Krishna consciousness understands that there is no difference between the animals and the innocent children in one's home. Even in ordinary life, it is our practical experience that a household dog or cat is, I didn't make that up, I promise, is regarded on the same level as one's children, without envy. Like children, the unintelligent animal are also sons of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, a Krishna-conscious person, even though a householder, should not discriminate between children and poor animals. Unfortunately, modern society has devised many means for killing animals in different forms of life. So, it's so instructive. I mean, so many times, just my own experience and from my own frustration of, dealing with things internally that I feel like so many times I offend devotees, and I act like kind of lash out with harshness. And then I read a verse like this and see how fallen I am. What to speak of, attitude I have towards lower creatures like this. And there's another verse also. Which is from the Garuda Purana, which is so nice, and it's so amazing. It says that kita pakshi mriganam cha harau sanyasta chetasam urdva eva gatim manye kim punar jnaninam rinam. This is from the Garuda Purana. Even the worms, the birds, and beasts are assured of elevation to the highest perfectional life if they are completely surrendered to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So what to speak of the philosophers amongst human beings? Quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.36. Prabhupada says, therefore, in the purport, therefore there is no need to seek properly qualified candidates for discharging devotional service to the Lord. Let them be either well-behaved or ill-trained. Let them be either learned or fools. Let them be either grossly attached or in the renounced order of life. Let them be liberated souls or desirous of salvation. Let them be inexpert in the discharge of devotional service or expert in the same. All of them can be elevated to the supreme position by discharging devotional service under proper guidance. This is really, really important to keep in our mind and realize the incredible potency of what we're doing. And I mentioned this before, but I want to keep, reminding myself of this, that this process of devotional service we're performing, we have no idea the power and the potency of what we're doing. Sometimes we'll feel a little bit, like not wanting to get up, or like bewildered by false pride. There's so many things. And just in a very, decrepit condition, be chanting and think, my chanting is worthless. What's the use? I'm so fallen. But we should remember all the insects, all the unseen entities, all the trees, wherever we're chanting, all these living entities are getting benefit by our chanting in any condition. Krishna is there within his name. We may not have full realization, but as we go on with a humble mindset, trying to become free from false pride, which may take many, many lifetimes. For me, it'll take many, many lifetimes. But we should remind ourselves and associate with those devotees that can help remind us that don't give up. We have the possibility. Look at all these amazing devotees. Even a snake, it says, became a devotee by Narada Muni's mercy. Even Mrigari, the hunter, who was half killing animals. Narada Muni preached to him and said, at least kill the animals fully so they're not, not suffering so much. He became a pure devotee from that status. So there is hope. We'll stop here. Grantharaya Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. If anyone has any questions or comments.
Thank you for the class. I'd like to just comment on your reading from Srila Prabhupada's statement about animals and how we should treat them exactly like our children. You say exactly?
Yeah.
I don't think that means that we should gather together all the dogs and the cats and the cows and the flies and mosquitoes and bring them in for Bhagavatam class, or invite them into the temple to live in the temple. I think what Srila Prabhupada is saying there, that we should treat them with compassion and with love. And he even says about children that until the age of 5, he said that, you should let them do whatever they want because they're just like animals, because they have no proper training. And at the same time, we can train, we can educate, let me say that. We can educate humans, most humans, not all, but you can't educate dogs, cows, deers, flies, like that. Prabhupada said you can bring them into Bhagavatam class every day for their life and they'll never understand because they don't have that capacity. So I think what he's saying is that we need to treat them with love and compassion, understanding that they're in a suffering condition, and not just want to, kill them or chase them away, but give them prasad if it's appropriate, chant Hare Krishna to them, which is always appropriate. When I lived in Mayapur, I don't know if it's still going on, but there was a controversy about the dogs. Prabhupada said dogs in the Dham and monkeys and pigs, they were great devotees in their last lifetime. So some devotees in Mayapur used to say that, no, they're great devotees, so we should, take care of them. And, they would feed the dogs, but these were wild dogs, and they would bark at and frighten the guests. And I would sometimes say to the devotees that, well, if you actually believe that, then bring the dog into your room and treat him like your roommate. Nobody wanted to do that. So anyhow, I think my point is that we have to use our intelligence when we are trying to understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying, and not just be blind followers. Srila Prabhupada didn't speak very highly of blind following, even of himself. Oh, another point I wanted to make, totally different. In the beginning, you were commenting that